Desert Realignments, Trump's Gulf tour and the remapping of Middle East power. An unconventional journey, trillion-dollar deals, a diplomatic map redrawn in gold and grit. While war rages in Gaza and allies bristle, Donald Trump's Gulf tour cements new allegiances. What does it mean when a former president sidesteps tradition to redraw the lines of regional power? Let's trace the arc of America's transactional pivot and the aftershocks it set in motion. Hi, I'm Samia Mohammed, and this is Analytica Today. When history looks back on May 2025, it may mark is not for the war still raging, but for a tour that quietly reshaped the foundation of diplomacy in the Middle East. President Donald Trump's three-nation Gulf trip, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, was his first major overseas voyage in his second term. It wasn't a peace mission, nor was it soft power charm offensive. While publicly framed as an initiative to secure expansive economic cooperation, the underlying ramifications of this diplomatic sortie extended far beyond the headlines figure of over $2 trillion in prospective deals. It was about money, power, and a new diplomatic calculus that places sovereign wealth above traditional alliances. Deals exceeding $2 trillion were signed, but beneath the glimmering contracts lies something more enduring. A decisive shift in regional influence, one that may leave old allies on the outside looking in. Let's dissect the desert realignments. In Riyadh, $600 billion flowed on paper from Saudi coffers to American firms. In Doha, the US recommitted to its largest Middle East military base, while Trump allegedly accepting an offer for luxury $747 from Qatar. In Abu Dhabi, photo ops at the Grand Mosque masked deeper tensions beneath the marble. This was not diplomacy as usual. There was no overtures to Europe, no stops in Israel, no talk of norms or shared values. Instead, Trump embraced economic statecraft, prioritizing foreign investment and arms over human rights and multilateral frameworks. The decision to forego visits to Israel and Oman was conspicuous and politically resonant. Israel embroiled in an intensifying conflict in Gaza, and Oman, host to sensitive nuclear negotiations with Iran, were left out of the itinerary, underscoring a potential strategic pivot. It was transactional foreign policy, unapologetically blunt. Saudi Arabia didn't just buy planes and AI software. It brought a louder voice in regional leadership. Flush with US military support and economic prestige, Riyadh now asserts itself as the undisputed leader of the Sunni Arab world. Iran, battered diplomatically and militarily, found itself increasingly isolated, and Qatar often walked the tightrope between Hamas-linked and US alliances, tightened its grip on strategic leverage. This was the quiet forging of a Gulf-centric axis, one less interested in old divisions, more focused on controlling tech, ports, and oil diplomacy. A new regional power geometry was born, centered not in Jerusalem, Tehran, or Washington, but in Tirade of Gulf capitals flush with American hardware and sovereign wealth ambitions. Nowhere was this recalibration more visible than in Trump's non-visits to Israel. With over 52,900 Palestinians killed in Gaza, and no ceasefire in sight, Trump's cold shoulder to Netanyahu said what formal statements never would. US-Israel ties, long sacrosanct, are now strained. The refusal to meet, the lifting of Syria sanctions, the truce with Houthis, each move signals a shift, support for stability over ideology, investment over unconditional allegiances. Each move signals a shift, support for stability over ideology, investment over unconditional allegiances. Netanyahu, already isolated over his refusal to negotiate peace, watched as the Abraham Accords stalled Saudi demands for a Palestinian state running into Israeli intransigence. This wasn't just a snub, it was a message. The US is willing to let go of all orthodoxies, even old friends. The most radical aspect of Trump's Gulf tour is reoriented American foreign policy around capital flows, not battle lines. Sovereign wealth funds are the new embassies. Tech and trade rules are the new treaties, and diplomacy once guided by democratic ideals is now steered by deal-making metrics. For Gulf states, this is an invitation to reshape the region on their terms, with American backing as long as the investment keeps flowing. For traditional partners like Israel, Europe, and even NATO allies, the message is clear: adapt or risk irrelevance. But there is a catch, or several. Trump's rumored acceptance of Qatari's 747 jet alongside the family's real estate ambitions in the UAE and Saudi Arabia raises hard questions about where policy ends and profit begins. Can a president broker trillion-dollar state deals while negotiating personal business ventures? Critics warn of blurred lines, citing ethics violation and conflicts of interests. Supporters call it entrepreneurial diplomacy. Either way, the consequences are real and the transparency elusive. Trump's Gulf tour didn't just broker deals, it broadcasted a philosophy, one that favors flexibility over fidelity, wealth over war, power reimagined, not through flags, but funds. But as Gaza burns, as old alliances fray, and sovereign wills dictates policy, one wonders what happens when diplomacy becomes a business portfolio. Who wins in this new order and who's left behind? Thank you for engaging with Analytica today. We welcome your insights on the implication of this evolving diplomatic doctrine for the broader architecture of Middle Eastern politics. This is Samia Mohammed. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical.